Hi everyone, Sherry here. Today is the finale of my Halloween series 2024, hopefully. I'm going to try to make a silicone skull 3D cake. Now you know me and cakes, they never turn out very well, so I'm not expecting the best for this. I had no clue on how to make a 3D cake, so I looked up on a video and I can't remember who it is, but I'm going to go back and find it and post her link down below. She used the exact same mold, the silicone skull mold. From what I gather, she makes a lot of cakes and probably much better than me. And she had nothing but trouble with this cake pan. She said that the cakes was too heavy for the silicone and it spreaded out, so the skull face lost its shape. Well, it's good to know. So if I fail at making this, I'm not going to feel as bad. Just for the fact that somebody that makes cakes had trouble with this makes me feel a lot better and more of a challenge to make this right. My son bought this for me 3 years ago for Christmas, and I've been intimidated and haven't made it. So I thought I might as well go for it, and what it turns out like is what we get. But I'm going to have fun doing it, and that's the main thing. What a way for a finale, right? A 3D skull cake. Let's hope it turns out. We'll see you over at the kitchen. So what do you need for the 3D skull cake? First off, you need a 3D skull pan. You got the front and you got the back, and you'll put the two together. Then you'll need a cake mix. I'm sure only one's going to fit. It's not a very big cake pan, but I do have a second cake mix just in case. I've never made this before. You'll need to use all of the ingredients it calls for. This one calls for 1 cup water, 1/2 cup vegetable oil, and 3 eggs. Wish me luck, and let's begin. All right, so first off, this is silicone. It should come out real easily, but I don't want to take any chances, so I'm going to butter and flour it just as added extra precaution. Make sure we do all of the nooks and crannies and bumps so nothing will stick. All right, so it's all buttered. Generally, they say that if you have a chocolate cake, instead of flour, you should put cocoa powder so you don't have the big clumps of flour on top of the cake when it's done. 2 reasons why I'm not doing that. One is that it's going to be covered up anyway, so you're not going to see the big clumps of flour. And the other reason is cocoa powder is way more expensive than flour. And I don't know if this is going to turn out, so I'm not going to be wasting that expensive cocoa powder if it's not going to work. So I'm just going to put some flour in there. And then you want to coat it all over the place. Get most of the excess out as you can. This is kind of wobbly, so I'm going to do that off camera and then I'll be back. I told you in the intro that I watched a video and they said that the silicone stretched because the cake was too heavy. So I got to thinking about that. I'm going to put it, instead of on a cookie sheet, I'm going to put it in a cake pan. It fits pretty closely in there. It can still stretch, but I'm going to remedy that as well. I'm going to take some Reynolds wrap and I'm going to just line it around there, trying to make it so it will go underneath and around the mold, kind of prop it up so it won't go anywhere. I'll show you after I get that done. I don't know if this is going to work, but I've got tin foil all on the bottom and it's sitting in the little hole, and then I've put tin foil all around so it can't go spread out a bit. Might do it a little bit here, but that's better than going out to the sides. So that's my plan. We'll see if it works or not. Set this aside and let's be making the cake. Preheat the oven to 350. So take a large bowl and then we'll just Mix it like the instructions on the box says. So I'm putting in my cake mix, my 3 eggs, then put in your 1 cup of water and your 1/2 cup of vegetable oil or whatever ingredients your box says. Mix this on low speed until moistened, about 30 seconds. Mixed until thoroughly mixed, about 2 minutes. A bunch of my flour had fallen. I thought I got most of it out and it's fallen, so there's going to be clumps of that on the top. But because I have all of the foil there, I'm not going to take it out and dump it out. That would be too much problem to get the foil back in there, so we're just going to deal with that. So we want to get this as even as possible in the both of the cake pans. I'll mix the other cake mix up and get that in there, and then I'll be back. Okay, I can see what the lady meant in the other video about the cake mix being heavy. I poured it in and it was already moving around a little bit, so I try to reinforce it a little bit. This one looks a little bit more than that one. They are both the same amount of cake mix, supposedly. Put your 3D skull cake in a preheated 350-degree oven for 26 to 31 minutes or until a toothpick in the center comes out clean. So since both of these are like a 13 by 9 pan, they're a little bit thicker because they're not as big. It took 1 hour and 20 minutes to cook, and I'm hoping it is done. My cake tester here, come out clean. We'll let this set for 10 minutes and then we'll turn it out onto some parchment paper and let it cool completely. Now remember, it's going to be full of flour because it knocks them down, and I wasn't going to take it out of the pan with the foil. And looky there, it has good definition. And then the back, yeah, it could be better, but this one spread, I think, just a little bit, but I can trim it down if I have to. But I am so pleased with the front and the skull. You can even see his teeth. Like I said, there's a lot of flour. I can scrape some of that off. We will let it cool completely, and then we'll go to the next step. The skulls are completely cool. I'll be careful here because they're fragile. They need to be flattened so they can go together. So I have to trim a little bit off of here and here so they can make a skull. All right, so off camera, I went ahead and trimmed a little bit of this. I'm going to spread some frosting on here. This is going to act as glue between the two of them. And I'm also going to put some dowels in there just so they will stay together. And I got to be really careful because my chin here is wanting to fall off. I do want to crumb coat this, put it in and chill it before I do that, because I'm afraid if I try to crumb coat his chin, it's going to break. Okay. Hopefully that don't go all the way out. All right, so I am going to carefully put him on there. So I'm going to put that in. The back expanded a little bit, and I am afraid to trim it because I'm afraid I'm not going to get the definition of it. This part I can. And that side looks good. He's heavy, and I'm not exactly sure how he's going to sit. And that's going to be a problem. He's got to be able to sit, and he's got to be pretty much all together. I'm going to put him in the freezer, let him freeze overnight, and then we can deal with it tomorrow. So it's the next day. He spent all night long in the freezer. Took him out, and he's standing up by himself. His head's kind of flat because I did shave off a little bit too much in the back. But I can probably build that up a little bit, but I'm probably not even going to. Before I can do the fondant, I'm supposed to do a light coating of buttercream frosting. I did some kind of heavy-handedly. It is frozen right now, so I'll have to kind of smooth it down when it starts to melt a little bit. I don't want it to melt too much because it might tip over. You know, you never know. So I was very nervous about using fondant. I figured that would be the best thing to use for a 3D one, but I have never used fondant before. I was worried about kneading it and rolling it out and all that sort of stuff. But I got this, it's already in a roll. You just unroll it and drape it over. It's very thick. And I don't know if that's going to cover him completely or not. I think I'm going to stretch him just a little bit. Let me get my itty bitty roller that they sent me. I think he needs to be a little bit bigger. Moment of truth. We're going to just drape it over there. And it's already breaking. Okay, I'm going to get my smoothing tool here. And that is to smooth it out. I've kind of got his face in there. Got it smoothed out pretty good. You can see his cheekbones, his mouth, his nose, and his eyes. I poked a little hole there. The bad part, of course, is the back. I didn't have enough, so I just kind of pieced it together. But I'm still happy with, for my first time, I didn't do too bad. So for my Halloween series finale, how do you think I did? This was my first 3D cake, first time using fondant, and I was scared totally. So as you see in the fondant didn't cover the back like it was supposed to, but we know it's 3D because it's standing up. I have green colored coconut for grass. I have grounded up Oreo cookies for the dirt and kind of to hold him up. I've got some foam blocks. So in those foam blocks, I added flowers because you know he's at his grave. I will turn this around because it's not a pretty sight because you're going to see the foam block and stuff. But you can see it's kind of bad back there. It is done. It is 3D. He is standing up and he is leaning over just a little bit. Part of the reason for that, of course, is the way he was baked. But I am very, very proud of this. One other thing I want to point out is I sprayed colored his eyes, but because he wasn't laying down, it ran. So I just ran a little bit of wet paper towel and wiped up as much as I can. He does have a little bit of gray around. He's not perfect, but I'm very proud of it. So thank you for joining me this year for my Halloween series 2024. So here is the 3D skull cake. Let's see what Dave thinks. That's the 3D skull cake.
It's a pretty sweet skull.
Until next year. Recipe deals for easy meals. Please like, subscribe, and share. This is Cooking with Sherry. Until we meet again.